the first thing I want to look at is really, because I understand that the vast majority of you don't come from a marketing background. Now, my background is clinical as well. So having been working for Medesk for several years now, the amount of experience I've gained with regards to marketing and generally how clinics are perceived by patients is sort of a different world, really. And it's not something that you necessarily are going to know about by being purely a clinician. Now, that has obviously partly to do with the fact that we're not educated in the beginning to be able to, promote our own services and so on. Obviously, we're all trained pretty much by the NHS, or other public bodies. And the aim of the game is not there to be tooting your own horn as such. However, it's kind of surprising to me in the sense that so many people end up being GPs, for example. And of course, if you're a partner in GP practice, you kind of want to make sure that GP's practice is is represented in the best possible way, whether it's private or not. And so, yeah, it's a bit striking to me, but still, but that's by the by, I suppose. So what I really want to look at today is a little bit of marketing stuff that will be very applicable to your clinic, particularly as it relates to patient acquisition online and also patient retention in general. So it's a little bit of an infographic that I've taken from Google Think, and essentially it outlines the kind of 4 main situations that a patient is going to be thinking about as they have an issue. So whether that's they've just discovered a mole, or maybe they've got a certain symptom they're worried about, when they're thinking about actually going to do something about it, where can they go, and how can they actually avail themselves of the services. So as I say, these 4 so-called micro moments are broken down usually for general marketing for all sorts of things, whether it's Coca-Cola or Starbucks or whatever. But these things are very, very applicable to healthcare as well. It's often perceived that healthcare is somehow special in that way, but human nature is human nature wherever you go, and therefore the same sort of rules apply, and the same findings apply, obviously with their own little caveats and changes. As for these micro moments, first one is about knowing. So it's essentially that moment where you realize there's something wrong and you kind of want to know something about it. What is it? Is it serious? Is it something I should worry about? So on. So what most people do, of course, quick Google search, I've got this symptom, and they see what happens. So what you want to be doing really in terms of your clinic websites and any way you represent yourself online is you want to be giving this kind of information to people. So you want to be demonstrating that level of knowledge. You want to be showing them that you actually have an understanding of what's wrong with them and potentially would be somewhere they can go. Now, after someone has kind of understood that they do need to go and see someone about a problem, that all the evidence online points to, they need to go and have it looked at. They will then, of course, want to know where. So they want to go somewhere, and you want them to come to you, right? So what you need to do is make it so that when they're looking online for someone, it's you that they find. So there are lots of ways to do this, and it's somewhat beyond the scope of this presentation. But broadly speaking, it's about getting at the top of the Google listings, really. You want someone to be able to type in, say, psychologist in my area, and it pops up with you or your practice. That's pretty much the idea. So there are lots of different things like search engine optimization that you can actually apply on a local level. So Google basically will show content such as yours for a specific area for the people looking for it in that area. So it's kind of like having a bus stop ad or a flyer within a certain radius of your premises. It is that kind of idea. Now obviously nowadays there's the other side of the coin where you kind of don't need to worry so much about how far away the patient is, especially if it's something like psychology, where it does do well enough with online services. There's not just a need to come in physically. So actually, there is the other side of that where you don't need to so much limit yourself. It's more about showing yourself off everywhere and making it clear that you're not just limited to an area. So it really depends on what you do, but you can apply either solution or even both, depending on whether it's appropriate to do so or not. And of course, once someone knows where to go, they need to know what to do. Should they actually proceed with what they're planning to do? And the way to do that is to build their trust. Now, you can do that in all sorts of ways. I mean, it can be as simple as displaying various different awards and affiliations on your website. A lot of people do that. You might say you work with such and such a lab. You might say you work with such and such an insurance company. You might have won a certain award. There are a couple of clinics working with us who prominently display the fact that they were one of Scotland's, for example, best SMEs of the year for healthcare, or in general, I think it was. Lots of stuff like that you can display. Even if you don't have things like that, you may well have academic papers you've published. Now, I'm not saying that your average patient's going to necessarily read all that and understand it, but the fact that you have publications to your name is something anyone can understand is a good thing. Peer-reviewed things are, people understand that. It means that your colleagues have accepted what it is you've got to say. Same applies for things like intro videos. You'd be surprised how much trust is built by just you showing the patients who you are. Now, you don't have to write some sort of cheesy bio where you pretend to be more personable than you are and all this kind of stuff. It's just a case of even recording a short video, sort of profile video, just to say what you do, what your sort of main philosophy towards practice is, what makes you different from anyone else. And that's doesn't sound necessarily that easy to do. Not everyone likes talking about themselves, but you'll be surprised how quickly things pull together if you just jot a few points down. Think about what actually drives you, and because that will be genuine, your patients will see it. And of course, the final point of this is when the patient is ready to make a booking, when they're ready to purchase your services, essentially, they want to know how they can do it. Once they're ready, what do they do? And of course, that brings me on to online booking, which is one of the easiest ways to get someone from just looking at your material, looking at your website, or being sent over to your website, to actually booking an appointment. We release new videos every week. Hit that subscribe button to learn how to grow your practice faster.